Hello there folks, back again for another video. In this one, something a little bit different. It's a kind of a sort of hobby chat, but it's also a look at some stuff that I picked up recently. So a lot of folks will know that I'm a big fan of Middle-earth, and so I picked up the starter kit play guide, and well, the starter kit itself, for the new Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth sort of spin-off for Magic the Gathering. Now, I haven't played Magic since, oh god, many years ago, I suppose. I had a red deck and a green deck back in the day, and then I picked up like a black-red starter set at some point, which I played maybe like 2 or 3 games with. A decent enough game, definitely not one that I've massively dived into, but it's one that I've always kind of liked, and so obviously seeing the whole universes thing has been quite fun to dive into. I didn't really look into the Warhammer 40,000 stuff, but from what I've seen of the artwork and everything for the Middle-earth version of this, Tales of Middle-earth, I've really liked the way that they've presented stuff and the artwork and the design and everything like that. So I thought it was probably worth having a look at this, especially as a little bit of a Middle-earth fan. So yeah, just quickly, obviously I've unboxed these already, so there's less ripping of cellophane, but you've got the starter kit play guide, which kind of gives you a basics of how to set up the game. You've got a basics of how to do your library and your setup and all that kind of thing. There's an introduction to the different colours and the way that they tend to work in game. You've also got a breakdown of what's in the set. There's a breakdown of how to set up your game and dive in that way. There's a how to play guide as well, so you can look at the mana cost and all that kind of good stuff as well. It's a breakdown of what everything means and how they work in game. So, you know, creatures with summoning sickness, artifacts, enchantments, and all that kind of stuff. So it's worth having a look at this, even to refresh yourself on the way that Magic plays. But it's a very simple game, really, in the grand scheme of things. There's also a breakdown of things like sorceries and instances, the expansion symbols as well. So what kind of cards you've got in your collection, and then how a turn plays out. The bit that I always forget is that you get the main phase again, so you can cast spells on other creatures, which I never really thought about actually. But yeah, you've got your second main phase, which is kind of cool, and then the end phase as well. So yeah, breakdown of how to play the very basics of Magic there as well. And there's a really nice art piece on the back there from Alexander Mokov, who's done a look at Galadriel battling against the forces of darkness alongside her elven kinsman in Lothlorien, perhaps. But yeah, very nice indeed. One thing to say about the I guess you'd say the Tales of Middle-earth range as a whole is that it's a little bit more sort of out there and wild compared to the sort of more kind of classical, I guess you'd say sort of historical fantasy edge that you tend to get from Middle-earth normally. So they've very much gone down the route of a little bit more of that kind of mega high fantasy vibe, which I think is quite interesting. So let's just have a look at the decks and the 2 that you get in the starter set. I should point out that my good deck fell off the table, so it's a little bit squiffy, but yeah, we'll go through it. So leading the way for both decks, you've got some legendary creatures. So you've got a green and white deck for the Forces of Good. So you've got Aragorn and Arwen wed there by Magali Villeneuve, who does absolutely amazing artwork and just looks amazing, stunning stuff. I'm not going to go through all the cards themselves because a lot of people have seen these, but I just wanted to highlight some of the ones that I really liked. So there's Aragorn and Arwen. You've got Frodo there, the determined hero. Awesome card. And love the artwork there for him. Gandalf, the White Rider. One of the nice things about this is that it feels like they've put loads of the big characters in, so you're not feeling like you're missing out on stuff, which is good. So you've got Gandalf, the White Rider there. A Bag-End Porter, so a lovely dwarf. But Barlam and Butterbur there, the Bree Innkeeper, keeping everybody fed. We'll talk about food tokens later as well. Some lovely thematic lands as well are in this set. So you've got the Shire Terrace there. I'm going to put these aside just so that I can sort them out later. Rosy Cotton coming in, which is nice. Obviously, you'll see that a lot of the Hobbit stuff is around food. Well, the Bag-End Porter, the Generous Ent. Just look at that. That's just lovely. And all the squirrels as well, just for good measure. Oh, and here's where everything was flipped over on its end. Galadriel there, with her gifts. Bilbo's ring. Knights of the Keep. Again, really lovely artwork there of the riders riding out. So you've got a couple of them there. Second breakfast, but we've not. Aye, we've had one. But yeah, second breakfast going on there. More Knights of the Keep. A Westfold rider. So there's your kind of Rohirrim. Looking nice. An Eastmark Cavalier. Again, more Rohirrim. And there's a nice mix of both men and women in the artwork, which is always good to see. And I like that the artists have taken things in different directions. One of the things I've always said with Middle-earth and Lord of the Rings, I think a lot of people get hung up, I suppose, on this isn't what Tolkien would have wanted and all that kind of thing. And to an extent, I agree with that. You know, I think if you change the tone of his work, that's something. But I don't think there's anything wrong with changing representation and stuff like that in order to create something that appeals to a lot more people. And as long as it's all done within the spirit of it, then, you know, I see no problem really with it at all. I had the same feelings about Rings of Power, and I had the same feelings about Tales of Middle-earth. As long as it looks awesome and gives people a chance to show off their interpretations of Middle-earth, I think that's all very cool. I've said on other videos for other channels that have looked at previous iterations of the Lord of the Rings in media, things like the Bakshi films and stuff like that, that for the longest time was how I viewed all of the different characters. And I didn't get into a hissy fit when it came up, when the Peter Jackson stuff came out and everything was different and changed. And I don't think people should, you know, feel too overly precious about it. As long as I say, as long as the heart and soul of Middle-earth is there, that's great. And then you also got the added bonus of just being able to read the books whenever you want. So, you know, that's never going to change. And it's something that I always think about anyway. So, yeah. The East Farthing Farmer, very cool. Protectors of Gondor, with their armour at the ready, very nice. Another Protector of Gondor there. The Dunedain Blade. This is what I mean when I say, like, they've gone for the slightly more sort of mythic high fantasy vibe to things. So I quite like the design of everything in the Peter Jackson one, where you've got that kind of more classic historical fantasy thing. But obviously, I don't see anything wrong with stuff like this and going in different directions with the artwork and design. The Vanishing Light. So yeah, a couple more there. Landravel, so that's a classic from back in the day. So having an eagle that isn't immediately Gwaihir in your deck is pretty awesome. Some classic quotes as well, you cannot pass. It's a shame that they didn't call these maggots dogs or something, although mushroom what dogs, I guess, makes sense, I suppose. But I suppose you've got Grip and Fang mentioned in the quote at the bottom, which is quite nice. Another one there. The Woses coming out to play. So a couple of Woses in the deck, which makes sense with the whole green vibe. Many partings there. And here's where my deck has got all squiffy. Many partings. The Galadrim Bow. Myriad Brandybuck. And here's where I say that, you know, you get a lot of the named characters popping up within the sets. So you're not feeling like you're missing out on some of the major players. You're not getting things like, I mean, you've got an Aragorn, you've got Legolas and Gimli and stuff in other packs and stuff. But here you've got like a whole bunch of the different hobbits. So there's Meriadoc, Merry. There's Peregrine. So Pippin. Stew the Conies. So you got Sam bashing Gollum with a frying pan there. And then you got a lot of classic lands and stuff. So you've got your regular forests, greens. There's your more power-based lands. You've got Shire Terrace and Grey Pelt Refuge there. And you've got more forests, loads more forests. Loads more planes, but again, look how the planes have been designed so that they match the vibe of Middle-earth. So you've got Gandalf there riding to Minas Tirith, or you've got the Shire stretching out through the plains. Very nice. But yeah. And then you get a couple of tokens at the end as well. So you get food tokens, as you can see there. So they're just great for gaining life. And you get treasure tokens as well, which can add mana. And again, just gorgeous artwork on those. So think of that maybe as like Sting or something in like a troll horde. Very cool. See, it's got a couple of food tokens. Again, oh, there you go. And there's a human soldier. Again, done in the vibe of Middle-earth. And then you get a little sort of breakdown sheet as well, talking about how to play to help you out. And then I was going to sort all these out, wasn't I? Never mind. Oh, there we go. A couple of lands there. I'm going to flip all these back over. So yeah, a nice little deck there, green and white for forces of good in your games, which is neat. So keeping the themes going there. So that's that side of things. All very good. There's also like a code that allows you to dive into the digital version of the game, and you get to basically redeem that specific deck, well, both these decks, in the online version of Magic the Gathering, so you can play them there if you want to. You also get these nice little deck boxes in the set, which have got a lovely piece of artwork showing Frodo and the ring there, and then the ring on the other side. So you'll be able to take your decks away with you. You don't get a spin down, so you don't get a D20 effectively in the box, but I have a whole bunch of D20s anyway, so I don't necessarily need those. So yeah, very cool. You've then got a red-black deck for the Forces of Evil, led by Sauron, the Lidless Eye. Looking very deadly there. Gollum, hanging out. Very good at sneaking around and getting cards in. And obviously, because this is the starter set, it's got lots of nice stuff in it for everyone who's diving in. I still think that maybe at some point they should change the back of these cards from the old ones, but I suppose they've done it so you can make a deck using whatever, really, haven't they? So, yeah. So there you go. Gollum. The Witch King, the Bringer of Ruin. Again, lovely artwork there. Just amazing. The Fires of Mount Doom. And I mean, you know, you're getting a Balrog straight out of the gate, which is pretty cool. I've just noticed a little holographic little magic symbol in the bottom there, which is kind of cool. So yeah, you got a Balrog, the Flame of Udun, Goblin Assassins, little regular 2/2s with a fire symbol and one other. And this one's all been sorted anyway, so it's easier for me to go through. You've got your Easterling Vanguards there, charging forth. This is where you get armies in play, which are done with tokens. So you've got food, as always, but you've then got, well, there's the boulder, but there's your army token for adding to the tabletop, which we'll come to later as well. So yeah, Easterling Vanguard, Feed the Swarm, so just a destruction ability, which is very good for black decks. Oops. Dunland Crabane as well, Swarming Forth. So it's all about building up your orc armies to do some nasty stuff on the tabletop. The Mordor Trebuchet, or Trebuchet as they call it in Chivalry for whatever reason. There you go. The Snarling Varg, or Warg. So it's got some breakdowns of how to use the powers sometimes on the card as well, which is always handy. But there you go, Snarling Warg. Shelob's Ambush, with Death Touch, which is pretty nasty. So whenever you get any damage on something, it destroys it. And you create a food token, which is very thematic. And it's another thing that I think is really nice about the Tales of Middle-earth collection, is that they've made things very thematic, which is always nice. It doesn't feel like, I mean, it's very magic but in Middle-earth, but they've sort of put the effort in to change things up, which is always nice. Nasty End. So it's a way to sacrifice legendaries to draw cards, and mirrors Wormtongue killing Saruman or Sharky in the Shire at the end of the Lord of the Rings. Gothmog there. So you got your big nasty Morgul lieutenant, and I like how they've depicted him as a black Numenorian, which I think is really cool and makes a lot of thematic sense. Although a lot of people would also say that he might be an Orc commander, but I like that they've gone with the sort of black Numenorian vibe. The Voracious Fell Beast. So the mount of the Witch King there, and the rest of the ring race. Swarming in Moria. The Olog-hai, you don't tend to get them mentioned in things, so it's nice to see that popping up. So it's kind of like a mix between your sort of trolls and your orcs there with the Olog-hai. Very cool. Got a couple of them. So you got red and black in this, which is all about destroying things, but also just doing a lot of damage. The Oliphant. Cast it into the fire. So a way of exiling artifacts and dealing damage. Fires of Orthanc. So a thematic card based around Helm's Deep there. The Fire Leapers. Goblins chasing through Moria. Grishnak, another named character from the lore. Fray of Orcs. So another way for you to amass. And I like that they've got the breakdown of how to do the amass because people might be new to the game. There's Manhur, another legendary Orc captain as well. Bit to throw into the mix. Another one, Ugluk. And this is the interesting thing as well with this, because with making the good decks or making characters based on the good heroes of Middle-earth, there's obviously loads for you to choose from with that. On the sort of darker side of things, there's not necessarily that many options for you really. And so seeing them mining the lore for all sorts of different characters, I think is really cool. And yeah, nice to see them doing that. The Mind Stone. So it's where the statue had been defiled by the orcs. And then you've got your lands. So you've got a couple of sort of more evocative black lands there. And then you have all your swamps. Again, thematic, based around the marshes, the dead marshes and stuff. And then you have your mountains. So you've got your red lands there, representing sort of Caradhras and Mordor in your games. So again, very thematic. And then capping things off, obviously you've got food in the mix, as always, but then with both of those, you've got the ballistic boulder, which is applied to one of the characters in your deck, and you've also got the orc army that you can use to build up in your games as well. So you can add tokens to that and create yourself an army. And then once again, you've got the breakdown of how to play on the back as well. So yeah, that deck again comes with another deck box. So you get 2 in the starter set, which is quite nice. And will definitely give people a lot to be playing with when it comes to diving into Middle-earth on the tabletop in a different style. Definitely going to be giving this a shot myself. Maybe play it with a couple of friends just to get them interested in playing with the Tales of Middle-earth stuff. Might pick up one of the commander decks. Maybe make a choice depending on the different characters that are leading them. I know there's like a Rohan style one, which I think would be kind of cool to do. But yeah, looking very cool. And it's nice to see them putting in the extra effort when it comes to Middle-earth to make it feel a little bit more distinct from regular Magic and properly thematic as well, which is always good to see. Right. Yeah, that was just a little breakdown of what you get in the starter kit for the new Magic the Gathering Tales of Middle-earth selection. Let me know if you're going to be giving Magic another go now that it's taken a step towards Middle-earth, or if you are going to be avoiding this one. Either way is fine by me. Let me know in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will be back with another video next week diving back into more traditional hobby, I would say. But I just thought, since this has arrived this weekend and I was quite eager to give it a go and dive in, I would have a chat about the game with you folks. And wanted to find out what you folks think as well. So yes, I'm going to move on. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Remember, there's the competition being run over on my comments, my community section, of my YouTube channel. So if you want to go over there and drop a comment in there with your favourite Middle-earth character, you might be in the chance of winning yourself a copy of Tom Bombadil, the old metal miniature, when we hit 2,000 subscribers, which is not too far off thanks to your generous contributions as a community. But yes, I will chat with you folks very soon. Bye for now. Bye.